Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to our profile webinar. So I am Miriam, I'm the marketing manager on Profile, and we have a whole team here today to assist you at the webinar and answer your questions. So we will first begin with the Profile FX module, and after that we'll take a 5-minute break and go straight into the backup to cloud and e-signature module. So a few housekeeping rules. First and foremost, if you have any questions, please type them in the Q&A section, which is right below on the bottom of your screen. And we will have Duncan, Julie, and Mario answering your questions live as we go along. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you will be receiving 1 CPD credit for attending this webinar. And that credit should be emailed to you within the next 7 business days. So yes, one last thing, we will also be posting this video on our YouTube channel, which I will post a link to in the chat for you so that you can access this later on. So without further ado, we can take this away.
Thank you for joining this Intuit Profile FX module webinar. In this video, we'll go through end-to-end preparation of slips. We'll do the initial setup in Profile, how you create slips, the use of the auditor in the FX module, printing slips, electronic filing slips, and then amending and canceling slips. We'll cover both the federal side and the Quebec side of the preparation and filing. So to start off, let's have a look at setting up Profile for electronic slip filing. There's some initial steps that you have to complete to be able to file slips, and this will apply to all slips that you file. Let's go have a look at Profile. I'm in Profile now. I'm looking at a 2021 FX file, but let's look at the initial setup. That's done in eFile Options. And there's a T3 FX section here. There's an XML directory here. And what I did was create a directory. This is for batch filing. So I put a directory here that I will use for batch filing. You can leave this blank if you're just filing one at a time. And then there's contact information that I filled out here in this sample example. Transmitter, there's identification that has to be filled out. And then there's the federal section. The transmitter number is a number that goes in every file. So it identifies who's transmitting the file. So we build an XML, send it to CRA. In that XML will be the transmitter number. The account number is a business number, and then the web access code is the code that is assigned to the business number. So the account number here and the web access code have to be related. So CRA will issue a web access code for the business number and they can be entered there. The transmitter number is also issued by CRA. In their documentation, it does say that you can use a generic. It's either MM and then 6 zeros or MM and 6 fives. They only say to use that if you're only filing one FX file. If you're going to be filing a lot of FX files, you have to apply for a transmitter number. Now this account number and web access code is what's required to log into and access the XML server at CRA. So I can enter my information here, like for an accountant's information, and it'll populate automatically on the CRA XML server login screen. Or I can leave this blank and then have to fill it in when I log onto the server. I would leave it blank if I'm just filing individual FX files and I have the web access code for every file I'm sending. If I look down below here, there's a Quebec transmitter number. This is a little bit different. It's kind of confusing because we have a transmitter number that goes in the file. It doesn't help you log on to the server. But for Quebec, the transmitter number is the number that allows you to file the slips. So Ministry of Revenue Quebec will issue the Quebec transmitter number. So that you apply for to the Ministry of Revenue Quebec. Contact information, that's the same as what we looked at above. eFile Internet, this is here because it's for T3 filing. It is by eFile now, so it doesn't relate to slip filing. And then there's this section that relates to FX for Quebec. Ministry of Revenue Quebec issues slip numbers. So they'll give you a start number and an ending number. So these numbers are issued by Revenue Quebec. MR69 is not related to slips. And then there's also internet file. So this should all be default. There is no need to do any changes on the screen. And that's the initial setup. With the setup completed, we can start creating slips. We just set up once and then we can go about creating FX files and creating slips. Let's have a look at ProFile. I have a FX file already completed. You can use file new, create it to create a new FX file, or you can use the carry forward. Just to save time, I've got a file created here. What I have is filled out all the information. So I need the tax year, the identification number of the filing corp. This information needs to be completed the signing officer, contact person, location of books. So there's quite a lot of information to start off here. We also need the filing section here completed. If I look down below, there's a couple things here. There's more slip information. So if I'm filing a T4 slip or RL slip, I can see what the default rates are going to be used. Once the info is completed, I can just go to Form Explorer and type in this type of slip I want to complete. So I'll look at T4, but you can use T5, all the various slips. So I've got completed T4 details here. What you need to do is just complete all the information for the person you're completing this particular slip for. And then you put in the numbers that are recorded at the end of the year. So once things are rolled up in the bookkeeping side of it, you can just enter what the employment was for the year, what the CPP contributions, etc. were for the year, and any other entries that you need. There's also a drop down here, and if there's other box numbers you need to make an entry for, you can make them based on the entries here. And then I can create other slips. So I can scroll across and I can create number 2, 3, and if I create 3, then it'll give me the option to create 4, etc. You can create as many slips as you need. So that's where you enter the information for the T4 slip. If I look here in Form Explorer, I can type in T4 slip and I can see what the actual slip would look like. We can see this is all in green, so I can't make entries on the actual slip. All the entries come from the T4 details. I'll point out a couple of other things for the T4s. I can see I've got now this file. I've changed something. It says CPP has been adjusted. There is insufficient to absorb the increase. So some people have this warning message and they don't want it. So what I can show you is another screen in ProFile. There's the T4 adjustment. And what I can see here is that I have it set for CPP to adjust to based on the number of pensionable periods. If I don't want adjustments, I can just click no. I can see now that that's an override. So go to options, module, and I can see the different options I have here. So I can change this now, CPP adjustments to no, and then there'll be no adjustments. So I go back to the details and the warning's gone. So there's a couple options here, a couple of places where you can look to see where you can make adjustments. I looked at the T4 adjustment, and then the default settings are set in options module. And then you can set it to the year and you can look at the options for the FX. A couple other screens available for T4 filers is there's an employee, T4 employee. This is a list of the employees and some people find this helpful. There's also a T4 reconcile and some users like to use this. So that's just T4 details to make the entries, and there's some other screens available. Entry for slips like a T5. T5 is also very commonly filed from ProFile. The procedure is the same. You complete info, the T5 details, and then we move on to the audit messages. So how can the auditor help us in FX module? Well, I can see there's a warning here, but let's look at what happens if I try and file these slips now. That's all I have to do. I do the info, the T4 details, and I'm ready to file, I think. But if I go to the transmit box, I see there's these errors, and I cannot transmit any slip with a yes in the error column. Just as a side comment here, in this box are the slips that can be filed federally, so to CRA. Okay, so I can't file this slip because I've got an error. If I click on the line, there's no next box. I have to cancel and go back to the auditor. So same as always, we go to auditor, show auditor, and we see this error. T4 details number 2, employee SIN is missing. The SIN number is a required field. So I can try and get the social insurance number and enter it, and then that warning goes away. Or I can consult the CRA T4 guide. In the past, it said to just enter zeros if you don't have the SIN, but having the SIN is an important piece of information that CRA requires. So I would look at the guide before just going ahead and entering zeros. Just confirm what CRA says in their latest guide, and then their other commentary about requiring a SIN number. So there we go. We got the audit message cleared. No audit messages. So just like in a T1 or T2, the auditor lets you know entries that are, or lack of entries that are going to cause a problem filing the return. We have completed the info, we've completed the slip details, and we check for audit messages. At this point, we're ready to print slips or electronically file the return, or both. Let's have a look at printing slips first. I'm back in the file that we completed those 2 slips in a T4 module. Now if I'm on slip details here, I can go up to the print 1 icon, and it says print 1. So I'm up in the toolbars, and it says print the current form, or I can use F12. If I click on that, it brings up the print dialog box, and I can select the slip type. It'll show who I've completed slips for. It'll ask the slip state, so whether it's original or amended, canceled, or blank, and then the copies I want. So it's by default, both are all the workers that have T4s entered. I can of course uncheck one, and that'll only print the first one that's checked. It's usually you just print whichever you need. So if it's amended, I would just unclick original and click amended, and etc. Same with here. A lot of people don't want all the copies, so they can uncheck them. Maybe they only want to print the client copies or the T4 for the employee. And then you can click print. So that's a quick way to get to the print slip screen from ProFile when you're on the details of the slip. Also, if I go to the file menu, you can see a couple of things. There's print, email PDF, but for slips, we can do print slip. So that's the dialog box I just showed you from the slip details. There's print slip PDF. So if I want to create a PDF, and if I click on that, the box is the same. It's just going to print to a PDF. Go back to file. So print slips or print slips PDF. There's also down here print setup, but for slips, there's a print slip setup. And then there's different slips. I can choose what I want to do here, like the options I want to select. I said the example, maybe people electronically file, so they're never going to want to print anything except to PDF the slips for the employees. So I can set that up in print slip setup. Then I can go back to file, print slips PDF, and then I can see only copies 2 and 3. So there's a print slip setup dialog, and you can explore that to see if there's any settings you want to make there. And I'll just cancel that. If I want to mail all the copies, I can do that. I can print copy 1, and then the T4 summary in this case, any slip notes. So I can select all this if I'm going to be paper filing. So there's different options you can do here. You can print copies that you need, or you can print everything so that you have printed all the copies you need for filing and to sending to employees. Next, we'll look at the electronic filing of slips. We'll look at the federal side, and let's have a look how we do that from ProFile. When I'm ready to file slips, I can go up to the e-file window. Transmit RL slips is for transmitting slips to Ministry of Revenue Quebec. So the second one is for transmitting federal slips and the partnership return. So I'll click on this, and we saw this box a little earlier when I was showing the error. Now what we see here is that there's no way to progress. It says cancel, and that's the only option. It says up here that you have to transmit one slip at a time. So what I do is when I decide which slip I want to transmit, I can click on that line, and then the next button appears. So once you determine which line to click on it, and then you can click next. I skipped ahead a little bit. It takes a few moments for ProFile to create the XML, and now it's created the XML. It tells me the T4 XML was created in the location where the file was stored. And it brings me to this login box, and I can read through all the agreement and click agree, and then I get this dialog box. So you have to enter the account number, business number, and then the associated web access code. When we were looking at e-file options, there was a place to put a business number and a web access code. And if they were entered in e-file options, they will automatically populate. If you didn't put a number there, then you'll have to enter it here for each company that you're sending an XML for. Again, there's the XML here, and unfortunately this is a sample file, so this is as far as I can go. So I'm back in the FX file, and I'll refer to some references, community articles that have more details on how to file slips near the end. What I will show you though is we'll assume that I filed a slip. If I go to properties, it says e-filed. And now this, we didn't e-file anything. So all this is saying is that an XML was built. We know an XML was built, it was not filed. So you can't go here and say, okay, it was filed, e-filed, so I don't have to worry about this anymore. CRA does give you a screen that says your file was uploaded. That is the only record you have of submitting XML to CRA. I'll also go to the information screen, and there is not a place on the info screen with a acceptance number or some confirmation number. Again, there's no number in ProFile that shows that the CRA received an XML. Some people ask about this file ID, and all that is how many times an XML was built from this file. So I've built 4 XMLs. So again, it tells me I've built the XMLs, but it does not say they were accepted by CRA. So you have to capture the screen at CRA. And if you're really not sure, it's important to be sure. So call CRA if you're not 100% sure the slips were filed, and find out if they received them. Let's look now at amending and canceling filed slips. I'm back in the file where we assumed we filed the slips. Now I've got a slip. Let's say I want to adjust this. I've got a slip here, and let's say I forgot the tax. So the income tax should have been $500. What I have to do is I made the changes there, and then I have to go back up to slip type and change it to amended. And then we have to go to the properties, and this was e-filed. So I have to change that to work in process or ready to file. So I make the changes, change the slip type, make sure I've got a setting where I can send it. Then I can go up to transmit and ready to file. And here I can change it to amended. So this will only send the amended slips, and then I can go ahead and follow the steps through, just like filing the original. Let's say it's an canceled slip. So what I do is I put this as canceled, and I leave all the numbers here. Some people will take all the numbers out, but that's a blank slip, and you can't file a blank slip. So you just mark it as canceled, leave all the entries that were there on the original slip, and then go up to transmit, change it to canceled, and then file as usual. If you have to file a new original slip that you have to add after you e-filed the original slips from this file, you will have to start a new file. So create a new FX file for any additional slips that are originals that you have to send, and CRA will match up the T4 summaries. Which brings up a good point. When you file the slips federally, the slips and the summaries go in the XML that is sent to CRA. Let's have a quick look at batch filing slips from the Client Explorer. I'm in Client Explorer now, and I've done a filter for FX only, unchecked all the others, and then just checked for 2021. If you don't use Client Explorer and you're not sure about how filter, we do have articles on Client Explorer and then how to do different maneuvers, procedures in Client Explorer. So I just filtered out 21, and I got these files. What we can do is check the files we want to send, and I can build e-file. So this is a batch e-file. If you remember back in the setup, I put a directory for where I want the batch files to be stored, and this is the procedure we use. And when we build the batch, the XML for the batch will be stored there. I'm going to go to T4, and then I can click original, canceled. So I've got two companies. It can be more than two companies, more than one slip, but they all have to have the same slip. So if I click T4 and T5, both these files have to have a T5 or I'll receive an error. And I get a failed. This one failed because there's no T5 slip. What I'll just do is, it just shows that you have to be sure what's in the file that you're transmitting. So what I can do is build now. I'm just going to select the T4, the originals, and I'll start. So it's built a batch, contains the T4s for the two files, and I can see I've got the upload button at the bottom right there, and we can see it's stored in the file directory that I used in the setup. So, but I can upload it, and this gets us the same login window that we saw for filing individually. Click agree. So just show you there's this available also for those who use Client Explorer or those who maybe will set up Client Explorer to use this feature. Let's have a look at filing Quebec slips. Many of the steps are similar. You still do info, details, etc. But let's have a look to see how that works. I'm back in the file that I've been working on throughout this webinar. And let's go over to the info, and I'll change the province to Quebec. And you can see it activates Quebec forms. If we look up in the identification section, there's a Quebec section here, and I need this information. I don't have it, but I'll also demonstrate what happens if I don't have it. So if we go to the T4 details now, I'm going to change this to Quebec. So because it's Quebec, I need to create a T4 slip and an RL1. Okay, so what we do is do the federal portion first. So see, when I have Quebec, it now wants PPIP. Okay, so I've got all the federal entries, and up here, there's a provincial toggle, or F5. If I click on the toggle, it takes me over to the RL1 slip screen. And what I can do is enter anything that I might need that is specific to Quebec. One of them that's going to be specific is the tax withheld, so box E of the RL1. The other thing might be unique to Quebec is the private health services plan. So what I can see here is that most of the numbers pull from the federal side, and anything that needs to be added specifically for Quebec will be in black color font, allowing me to make the manual entry there. Okay, so if I go back, I've got both the T4 and the RL1. Got the RL1, provincial toggle to the T4. If I go back to, I'll skip the auditor for a minute. If I go back to the RL1 and do the print 1, you can see that it comes up with the RL1. So I can print the RL1 and I can print the T4. So I can select from the slip type which slip I want to print. So printing is similar to just federal, except I can make the changes to the slip type for whichever slip I want, T4 or RL1. So far so good there. If I go back up to the transmit RL1 in the e-file menu, I can see I've got a similar box for the federal, and I have an error yes answer there. So I'll go to the audit, and I can see I got a lot of warnings here. So this is why the setup's important to do at the beginning and have all the required MRQ information. I need the slip range. I didn't enter a slip range. This is kind of unique here. What this is, and this is important, so I'll stress this a little bit. I'll shut the auditor. One of the required questions for slip filing is, are you going to paper file the RL1 slips or internet file? Okay, so if I click on RL1 slips via internet, I get this warning that I have to mail or use online services to send the RL1 summary. I'll stress this, the RL1 summary, the RL slip summaries do not go with the file. And I'll scroll down to the bottom here. There's information about filing the RL1 summary. There's penalties if you don't file the RL1 summary, so just to be clear, the RL1 summary is not sent with the RL slips. And there's information on the summary about how to file it. I'll go back to show auditor, indicate method of filing. So there's identification numbers like I pointed out on the information screen. That one I can deal with. Okay, and then I've got this warning. I have to mail it or through online services. And there's information about how to do that on the actual RL1 summary. Okay, and then there's another warning that can be dealt with. Just to summarize here, but I need the Quebec information. I need the RL slip range, and I need the MRQ slip transmitter number. And as a difference between federal and Quebec, for federal, the slip summary goes with the XML. For the Quebec side, the summary does not go with the slip filing. And hopefully I haven't mentioned too many times, but there's information on the RL summary, how to submit the RL summary. And the other thing is, if I'm on the federal, let's go to the details. There's this toggle between province and federal. You need FXQ license to be able to file or create or file or have access to RL slips in FX. So if you just have the FX license, you won't have access to Quebec slips. I was not able to show quite a bit about what the filing to Quebec looks like for slips. So I'm on community now, profile community, and I just typed in FXRL, and there's this article here. I have a really good article here. How to transmit slips for the FX module. So it has setting the credentials, transmitting slips, printing transmission information. Just another thing I'll mention here. I mentioned for federal, there is not a record of the slip being filed federally in ProFile, but there is for Quebec. So if you click on the actions, you'll get a confirmation number. So like we can see here, this is a great article. If you're filing Quebec slips, there's a lot of information in this article, and including troubleshooting. Let's have a quick look at other references that we can find in the ProFile community and at CRA. I'm back on the ProFile community, and there's this article, Start in FX module. And it goes through how to create, and it talks about other things didn't have time to cover in this webinar, but including, other slips. They are basically the entries are pretty much the same as we showed in the D4. So there's this article, which is great. And then I could just use keywords like FX slip filing and see what I get as a result. So there's an article, how to internet file slips. There's pre and post 21. So the method I showed you was in the 21 module. For 2021 and 22 and higher, it'll be this method. And then we went through how to amend slips. So there's more information there. The other thing I want to show is I referenced the CRA T4 guide. So if you're wondering if there's an error in ProFile and why it's there, usually it's because there's a CRA requirement or limitation on a field, or there's a required field that wasn't entered. If you want information, CRA does have a T4 guide. There's a T5 guide, etc. for other slips that you can file from ProFile to CRA. So there's a T5 guide. So there's useful references that are reasonably accessible. I just put CRA first, and then when I'm looking for, and over here I can just type like start FX, and then I get that article. So there's great references in the ProFile community and at the CRA. Thank you for joining this webinar. We saw you can get information at the ProFile community. You can get that from ProFile support at the ProFile webpage, profile.intuit.ca, or you can get that through the help menu in ProFile. We have time for a few questions.
Hi, everybody. It's Duncan here from Intuit Profile. We're just going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to look at another recorded webinar for using the cloud and how you can set up for electronic signature filing from Profile. So see the timer there, and in 5 minutes, we'll start the second webinar. We're back after the break, and this webinar will contain information about using e-signatures, so DocuSign and Adobe Sign in ProFile, and then also in this webinar also is information about using backup to the cloud in ProFile. So if you're coming for backup to cloud, it'll be right after the e-signature portion of the webinar, and we will start momentarily with the e-signature portion.
DocuSign or Adobe Sign. Also on how to back up to cloud. Let's begin with DocuSign. In order to use the e-signature feature in ProFile, you must connect to your Intuit account. So in ProFile, we go to Online menu, Sign In. Here you're going to see the Intuit Accountant Sign In window. So you will either sign in to your current Intuit account, or you can create one if you don't already have one. So here you have the sign in. So you use either your email or user ID plus password, or down here you can create an account. So if you click on create an account, it'll ask for your information. So it just takes a few seconds in order to create your account. So now that my account is created, I'm ready to sign in. So I have entered my email as my user ID, and then you enter your password, and then sign in. This only takes a couple seconds. And now you're going to select your business. So you're going to see most of you will have one. So you're going to select the business that you want, and then connect business. And then here you'll see success. You're all set. So now you click finish. So now in order to connect to either DocuSign or Adobe Sign, you go to the File menu, e-signature, and connect. And here, this is where in the integration options, this is where you're going to see the e-signature connection. So either DocuSign or Adobe Sign. So first we're going to start with DocuSign. So you see here, get started by connecting your existing DocuSign account. No account? Get one here. So if you don't have a DocuSign account already, then you click this button here. It says get one here. And then this page will open. It says DocuSign. Profile users get to try DocuSign for free. And then, so you just create your account here, your DocuSign account here, and then get started. And then you'll receive an email on how to get started with DocuSign, and they'll also send you the pricing for bundles for the year monthly. So the bundles look something like this. So you can either see the amounts by annual, so $10 a month for $120 annually, or you can go by monthly and how much it'll cost you by month, depending on how many you're going to use and how often. So, and then it shows you all what's included in each bundle. Once you are done creating your DocuSign account, if you don't have one already, you come back to Profile and then connect here. And then your DocuSign account is going to open. So here you're going to enter the email address that you used to sign up for DocuSign. Then you hit next, and then you're going to enter your password that you created when you created your DocuSign account. Once you've entered your password, sometimes you'll get this message where you need a verification. So you just have to go into your email, or you might, for yourself, it might be receive a text. It depends. So you just have to enter your verification code. And then click verify, and then it'll connect to your DocuSign account. Once you are successfully signed in, you'll get this message where it says Profile successfully connected to DocuSign. Please close this tab and return to Profile. So now back in Profile, I can see that I am now connected to DocuSign, and then it shows me my account. So now I say OK. And now I'm ready to open a file and send any forms or documents that I need to send to my clients. So in ProFile, I open up the tax return to whom I want to send documents to. So in the File menu, e-signature, there's two options here. I have Collect e-signature and then Dashboard. So I'm going to go to Collect e-signature. And here you're going to see the attachment. So by default, it will select these forms here. So the T183 authorized rep, because this is a Quebec return, it's also requesting the MR69 and TP1000. I can also attach by clicking on this box with 3 dots here, and it says, please note password protected PDFs are not supported by e-signature. Make sure not to include the password protected files. So I can click do not show this again and then go to OK. And here I can select what PDF documents I also want to attach. So I'm just going to click one, for example, and then it's attaching my document. And now I'm going to go to Send to DocuSign. You see here it's creating the envelope, updating the documents, uploading, and then my DocuSign opens with my documents attached. So here in the DocuSign, I can use the signature posted here in order to show the customer or the client where I want them to sign. So now I've posted that there, and if there's more forms I need them to sign, then I just scroll down through the forms and show where I need the signature. So again, I take the stamp, I post it here, and it shows the customer where I want them to sign. So once that's done, now I'm ready to send these documents to my client. So now I hit send, and then it says sending, and then it says successful. And then you can, well, there's a rating here that you can do for DocuSign, but that's up to you. Once my documents are sent to my client, it'll say that the e-signatures are waiting here and they're waiting for them to be complete. So in the meantime, what happens is the customer receives an email with the documents attached that they need to sign. So once they've signed electronically, they'll have a finish button to click at the top right of their screen. So now we can open up ProFile, then go into the dashboard, which is located in the File menu. Then e-signature, and then you'll see Dashboard. And here is where we see the documents and status. Under status column, you'll see sent. So if you see it's taking a while to receive the docs from the customer, you can always send a reminder. For any in-software issues with DocuSign, such as error messages or unable to connect, then you can contact our support. However, if you have any issues with DocuSign itself, then you will need to contact DocuSign support. So you can go to their support.docusign.com webpage, and then you can get support there for any inside DocuSign errors or issues. Now on to Adobe Sign. Much like DocuSign, we must be signed into our Intuit accounts. In order to sign in, we go to Online menu, Sign In. Here we enter our user ID, which is most likely the email address, and then our password, and then sign in. And again, you must select the account you are using, and then connect business. And then success, you're all set. So finish. So now on to connect to Adobe Sign. We go File menu, e-signature, connect, and we select Adobe Sign. If you do not have an Adobe Sign account, then you get one here. You click Get One here. Then the Adobe Sign window opens, and you can create your account and look at the plans and pricing. While creating your Adobe account, you'll need to enter a valid email address, usually the same one as your Intuit account email address that you use. Also, here you can see that you can get a 7-day free trial with the Adobe. Here you can select how you want to be billed, either monthly or yearly. And then you continue in order to add your information and complete your account creation. You'll then get an email from Adobe that says, welcome to Adobe. To confirm your email address, please click the link below. So you can either click the link or copy and paste it into a URL, and this will allow you to complete your account. So you just have to follow the steps on the screen. Once that is done, you come back to Profile. Here we're going to click Connect. Then your Adobe Acrobat sign-in page will open, so you select Sign In. You also might get this confirmation page to confirm access, so you hit Allow Access. And then Profile successfully connected to Adobe Sign. Please close this tab and return to Profile. So now in Profile, you'll see that the Adobe Sign connected to Adobe Sign, and you can disconnect from here, and it says what account you're connected to. So now you just say OK. And now you can go and open your file, whichever file you want to send to the documents to your customer. Then you go into File menu, e-signature, and then you're going to select Collect e-signature. Here you're going to see the forms that you want that Profile will automatically select. So the T183, Authorized Rep. For Quebec residents, it'll be the TP1000 and the MR69. You can also select other documents to send to your client. So by clicking on this box with 3 dots, it'll bring you to your Windows Explorer. And this is where you can go into your documents or wherever your desktop and select a document that you want to include for them to sign as well. So you just select your PDF document, you add it, then you confirm that the email address is correct at the top, and then you select Send to Adobe Sign. Then it might take a couple of seconds, and you'll see it's creating the envelope, and then it's connecting, and then it connects. So now you'll get this type of window, confirm login. I say yes, and then here is my documents that are open in Adobe Sign. So now I can select where I want my client to sign. So now under signature field, I take the signature and then I add it here. This tells my client where I want them to sign. And then I hit send. Then the customer will receive an email. They'll have to click a link in order to sign in order to view the documents and then sign them and then send them back. Inside the Adobe Sign, you'll see under Documents tab if you have any documents in waiting. Under e-sign, you'll see that you can sign or request signatures of the documents pending. In the meantime, while you're waiting for your documents to come back from your client, you can go into the File menu, e-signature, Dashboard, and here you'll see the status of the documents you sent to your client. So the status is created. So you know that under Actions they have not been returned yet. But this is where you can view where the status of your e-signature documents are. And then if you think maybe the customer forgot, you can then send Request New. For Profile in software issues with Adobe Sign, like for connections or error messages, you can contact our support. However, for any inside Adobe issues, you'll need to contact Adobe Support, and you'll find the support on their Adobe Support web page. So you can log in here and then find the support you need for in Adobe eSign issues. You may also find our community article helpful. So you can log into profile.intuit.ca, go into our community help, type in Get Started with Adobe Sign and DocuSign. Then you'll come across this article that explains how to get started with Adobe Sign. So getting started, sending, receiving, view the dashboard, disconnecting, and as well with DocuSign. So same thing, getting started, connecting, sending documents, receiving, and disconnecting. And then you can find some frequently asked questions here. I would also just like to mention that for new users, once you've installed Profile and opened it for the first time, you'll get a type of pop-up that says collect e-signatures and Profile, and you can get started from there. It goes through 3 steps, and you'll just need to choose which one you want to connect to, either Adobe Sign or DocuSign. Here's a quick example. When you open Profile, you also get this Collect Signatures and Profile window that pops up. You can just follow the steps, so 1, 2, and 3. It also says if you don't have accounts, you get started by clicking here. You can click here. To learn more, you click here. However, you can just follow the steps and then connect to eSign. And then it brings you to the integration as you've seen earlier. So either Adobe Sign or DocuSign, and then connect. How to back up your files to Profile Cloud. First, we will need to enable the cloud in the options settings. In Profile, we go to Options menu, we select Environment, then you're going to see the Backup to Cloud tab. If you don't see it, then you can use the arrows. So here you're going to see profiles users can back up returns to the cloud for storage and security. So here's where we enable the backup to cloud on this computer. And then it's always best to select automatically backup returns upon saving. So we go OK. However, for new users or new installs of Profile, upon opening Profile, you'll get this type of window pop-up. It says Backup to Cloud, and then it provides you the Enable Backup to Cloud, choose when to backup, download on demand. So what you do here is you just click on the environment options, and it'll open up the same environment tab. And then you follow the same enable steps in automatic. Now that you've enabled the cloud to automatic, we'll go to File menu, Open, and then we're going to open a file. And here you're going to go to File menu again, and then Save As. At the bottom here it says Backup to Cloud Disabled. This means that we are not connected to our Intuit account. So we're going to click Activate Backup to Cloud, and then you're going to sign into your Intuit account here. So you type in your password and then sign in. And then it's going to show you select your business, so you select your business that you want to connect to, and then connect business. Then you're going to get success. You're all set. So now you've logged into your Intuit account, and now it shows enabled backup for this return. So this is always selected because we selected the option in the environment. So we hit save, and then you get this notification at the bottom that backup is successful. We can also back up multiple files to the cloud. So if you go to Hub, you can just follow the steps here if you haven't already. So got it. So go to Setup. Here you're going to just enable the hub and then browse where your files are saved. So once your file path is entered here, you're just going to select Read Files. It can take a few seconds. Once all your files are indexed, then you can see here with the scroll bar under backup status that these files are ready to back up. So what you do here is you're going to select the returns that you want to back up, and you go under Actions and then Backup to Cloud. And it'll say please wait while backup returns to the cloud. This can take a few moments depending on how many files you're backing up. And then it'll come back to the workflow. So you just scroll over, and then as you see that the backup to the cloud has been successful, you get this little green cloud with a check mark. These have been backed up. Only T1 and T2 module files can undergo the backup to cloud through the hub, so many files at a time. For T3 and FX, you can only back up the files through Save As in the file. Now let's look at how to review our files once they've been backed up. So you go to Online menu, Download Returns from the Cloud. It's going to take a few seconds. And here we go. So now you're in your returns in the cloud. So you can see here all your returns that have been backed up. From here, we can download and delete files that are in the cloud. So for example, if I want to download this file, I select where I want the file to download. So I'll just use my desktop and then OK. Or if I want to download it to the same place that I have it already saved, so I would just follow the file path. So I'll just go in here and find my file path. So this is where I'm going to save it. I'll get this message saying that I already have the file. Do I want to override the file that's there? So I can either choose yes or no. So I'll just choose yes. So my file has been downloaded. Now if I want to delete a file from the cloud, I just click the button here and it'll ask you, are you sure you want to delete this file from the cloud? And you select delete and it's gone. Note that deleting this file from the cloud does not delete the file from your computer. So it's still in your file path that you save the file to. The convenience of the download from cloud is that you can open Profile on another computer, log into the cloud. You can download the files that you don't already have in that other computer, and then you can save them to the same file path as the others. For more information on the backup to cloud, you can visit our community webpage, and there's a terrific article about backup to cloud. So this brings us to the end of our webinar. For more profile support options, you can visit our website at profile.intuit.ca, or you can call our phone support or contact our live chat support. Thank you for viewing. We will remain online a little while longer in order to answer any questions that are still lingering or any new questions that may arise in the next few minutes. Again, thank you very much.
Okay, hi everyone. So since we've ended the webinar, we don't have any more questions in the Q&A panel. This is it for us. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. And I just want to remind you again that we will be posting a recording of this video on our YouTube channel, which is Intuit Accountants Canada. And you can find it there under the profile webinar section. So again, it's Intuit Accountants Canada. And you can find it there, and keep your eyes peeled for receiving your CPT credit in the next week or so. Thanks and have an awesome day.